Fire alert. A wildfire in Socorro County has smoldered for the last 24 hours, and the 6 Mile fire has burned 396 acres in the Magdalena Mountains, just slightly larger than this time yesterday. Still no containment, and crews say water and retardant drops have helped slow the spread. No evacuations are ordered. Now happening today, the city of Las Vegas implementing stage 1 water restrictions to help preserve water in the area.
This is going to be the story everywhere this summer. Outdoor watering now only allowed in the early morning or late evenings on certain days. Even numbered addresses are allowed to water on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Odd number homes can water Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Restaurants, they'll no longer serve water only by request, and there will be limits on car washing and pools as well. A former Albuquerque public school teacher has been convicted of sexually abusing a student. Patrick Kaur taught at John Adams Middle School from 2019 to 24. Yesterday, a jury found Kaur guilty of giving a student alcohol and sexually abusing her in 2023. He faces more than 20 years in prison. Kaur still faces similar charges involving another teen. He goes to court for those in September. Now, sitting, sleeping, or laying down on a public sidewalk could soon be illegal in certain parts of the Duke City.
Now, some believe it targets homelessness, while others say it's about safety. City councilors passed the Enhanced Service and Safety Zone Ordinance in a 6-3 vote last week. The proposal would allow the city to create designated zones aimed at improving public safety and economic growth. Mayor Tim Keller is reviewing this ordinance.
It hardly does anything that is not already part of our process, but our process is to first always ask for help.
Now, supporters like City Councilor Joaquin Baca say it's needed to address issues impacting local businesses.
Just by having unhoused folks hang out right at the front door, business stops. We have services for the unhoused, and a lot of them are not taking advantage of those services, and they're not being helped by just being on the sidewalk.
Officers are required to issue a written warning before handing out $500 fines or 30 days in jail.
Happening today, PNM laying out plans to build a new substation in Albuquerque's Northeast Heights. Late last year, Bernalillo County approved a permit for a substation on Paseo del Norte near Tramway. Some residents worry the towers and transmission lines associated with the project could block scenic views and increase wildfire risk. PNM says the substation is needed to reduce power outages in that area. County commissioners will have a public hearing today at 3 p.m. at Alvarado Square downtown. Over the past 2 years, crews have been working on the rail trail in Albuquerque. It's a 7-mile loop that connects downtown and Old Town, and part of the loop opened back in October. Now, the next phase of that project is about to roll out. It's very cool.
This is super exciting. So starting this summer, the city says they'll be working on a half-mile trail from Old Town to the Biopark. Now, on the trail, there will be features like art, benches, and natural trail areas. Now, Terry Brunner with the city says they hope to complete this by next spring, and it could cost between $3 to $5 million with the help of state and city funding.
It should help with traffic and people dealing with traffic in the Old Town area, and but also it will promote a lot of development, a lot of opportunities for housing and commercial development and things like that, but also boost our tourist industry too.
The city is also in the planning stages to expand the rail trail near Hispanic Culture Center, the 12th Street, and Central Crossing area. Now, last year, the Trump administration pulled $11.5 million in federal funding for the rail trail, saying it wants to focus on cars rather than people or bicyclists. The city of Albuquerque then sued to get that funding back, and this is still playing out in court.
Now on 7. Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham touching down in Japan to discuss opportunities between the land of the rising sun and the land of enchantment. Her office saying the trip aims to advance potential trade deals when it comes to energy, tech, and natural gas exports. She meets with a number of Japanese leaders in those industries. In a statement, the governor says the mission is about deepening New Mexico's existing relationship with Japan and demonstrating how our economic partnership will create strong opportunities for both sides.
Now, major repairs at El Vado Dam in northern New Mexico could still be years away. The New Mexican reports the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation may not resume construction until around 2032 after an earlier $33 million repair plan failed. Now, officials say they're continuing to study long-term solutions for seepage and structural issues at the dam near Tijera Amarilla. Now, the delays could continue to impact water storage for irrigators in the Middle Rio Grande region.
It's week 2 of New Mexico's bench trial against Meta. Yesterday, a state health expert took the stand. State epidemiologist Dylan Pell said there's a mental health crisis among our youth in the state, and social media is a significant contributing factor to it. The state pushing for massive changes to Meta's platforms to keep kids safe, but Meta has threatened to leave the state if a judge approves the changes. The trial is scheduled to run through May 22nd. And new numbers on the economy showing a sharp increase in inflation because of the war in Iran.
Now, meanwhile, Secretary Hegseth is back on Capitol Hill, but so far on the future of the war and what next steps might be. Now, ABC's Olivia Rubin has those details.
Today, new data showing the economy taking a hit from the war in Iran. Inflation sharply increasing to 3.8%, the highest level in nearly 3 years, according to data from the Labor Department. The Strait of Hormuz, where about 1/5 of global oil supply passes through, has been shut down during the war, sending energy prices surging. Now up nearly 18% year over year. Gas up nearly a staggering 30%, according to the data. Now, the typical American household is spending $266 more a month on the same goods and services from a year ago, according to Mark Zandi, chief economist at Moody's Analytics. And after more than a month of negotiations, President Trump still has no deal in place to reopen the strait or end the war. Negotiations essentially at a standstill.
I would say the ceasefire is on massive life support.
And up on Capitol Hill today, lawmakers pressing Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth for answers as the Trump administration seeks $1.5 trillion in defense funding.
The question must be answered at the end of this crisis. What have we accomplished and at what cost?
But Hegseth rebuffing, not saying any specifics about next steps.
We have a plan to escalate if necessary. We have a plan to retrograde if necessary. We have a plan to shift assets.
And now the acting Pentagon comptroller telling lawmakers today the estimated cost of the Iran war now $29 billion. That's up from the $25 billion he testified to just 2 weeks ago, saying that update comes after accounting for equipment replacement and other general operational costs. Olivia Rubin, ABC News, Washington.
Thank you, Olivia. Here's where gas prices stand this morning, according to AAA. The national average, $4.50 a gallon. New Mexico is up to $4.17. Albuquerque at $4.12. And Santa Fe, $4.04 for 1 gallon.
A passenger who was aboard that cruise ship with the Hantavirus outbreak speaks from quarantine. I'm Danny New, and I'll have that story for you coming up.
A meeting of the Epstein Truth Commission further looking into the convicted sex offender's crimes, the connections believed between his activity in Florida and New Mexico.
Redistricting rages on as the midterms loom. The Supreme Court taking on yet another case.
And lines are now open for today's ticket giveaway. Today through Thursday, we are giving away a family 4-pack of tickets to the St. Vincent Hospital Foundation cover band concert of Beatles vs. Stones. It's on Thursday night at St. Francis Auditorium in Santa Fe. That starts at 7. Be the 7th caller to the number on your screen. Good luck. We'll be right back.
KOAT7 is celebrating Route 66. Cruise over to KOAT.com/Route 66 and see what's revving along the Mother Road. Sponsored by Myers RV Center. You're watching KOAT Action 7 News.
Now to the latest on the Hantavirus. 18 people are in quarantine in Georgia and Nebraska after coming back to the U.S.
Yeah, and ABC's Danny New has the latest on those being monitored for symptoms.
For the first time, we are hearing from a passenger in quarantine who was aboard that ship with the hantavirus outbreak. Today, with U.S. passengers from that luxury cruise ship now in quarantine, growing concern around questions being raised that the Andes variation of the hantavirus may spread more easily than previously thought.
We're just seeing emerging evidence, for instance, in conversations that several colleagues had with the doctor on the ship, who said that at least 3 of the people who got infected did not have close contact, and they may have had just casual contact sitting next to somebody for half an hour at a meal.
16 passengers are being assessed over the next few days at the University of Nebraska Medical Center, the first American to test positive getting treated inside the biocontainment unit there. One of the quarantine passengers in Nebraska is travel vlogger Jake Rosemarin, whose posts aboard the ship reached millions on social media.
We're not just a story. We're not just headlines. We're people.
Today, he spoke with Good Morning America during the start of his 42-day quarantine.
I was relieved to get off the ship and have a plan in place, and they're treating us really, really well here. So I can't ask for anything more than that.
The Boston resident says he plans to fulfill the full 42 days in quarantine, and that so far he does not feel any symptoms.
It was a long, stressful travel day. I spent most of yesterday just, reaching out to family and friends over FaceTime and calling and just, letting them know I'm okay and in good spirits.
2 other Americans, a couple, have been flown to Emory University in Atlanta after one of them showed symptoms. Meanwhile, at least 5 other states are being monitored with 11 cases reported worldwide. 3 people have died. Danny New, ABC News, New York.
The Justice Department announcing criminal charges against 2 shipping companies in relation to the deadly container ship crash that brought down the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore just 2 years ago. The indictment accuses the ship operators of illegally using a flushing pump to supply fuel to the generators when it lost power. Now, the document also says the ship superintendent lied to investigators when he said he wasn't aware the pump was being used. Synergy Marine out of Singapore and Synergy Maritime in India are facing charges of conspiracy, obstruction, and making false statements. The collision killed 6 highway workers in the process.
U.S. Supreme Court issues another major ruling on redistricting, this one involving Alabama's congressional map. The High Court ruled the state can use a map it enacted in 2023 with just 1 majority black district. The lower court had previously blocked the use of that map, but last month the justices weakened the Voting Rights Act when they ruled Louisiana could eliminate a minority district from its map. The High Court issued its order without explanation. Democratic officials in Virginia asking the Supreme Court to reinstate a voter-approved congressional map that allows 4 more districts to favor Democrats in that state. The emergency appeal follows a decision by the state Supreme Court last week. Democrats are asking the Supreme Court to essentially overrule its state Supreme Court for this year's midterm election. A congressional committee investigating the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein is in Florida this week, interviewing victims and survivors.
This as New Mexico lawmakers are continuing their own investigation into Epstein's former Zorro Ranch. Now, earlier this year, the Epstein Truth Commission was formed in New Mexico to look into alleged crimes at the property in Santa Fe County.
Allegations that were made at the ranch over the course of 26 years. We're hopeful that this team of people can help us tell the story of what happened at Zorro Ranch in the enterprise of Jeffrey Epstein over the course of that time.
Now, over the weekend, Congresswoman Melanie Stansbury said investigators are now looking at whether the same type of abuse alleged in Florida may have happened here in New Mexico. The commission expects to release initial findings this July and a final report by the end of the year. Now, more than 1 million documents about Epstein have been made public. Target 7 combed through hundreds of them to find the ties between the convicted sex offender and New Mexico. You can watch The Secrets of Zorro Ranch on our YouTube page or website at KOAT.com. New Mexico's population is declining, losing 1,200 people according to the last census. It's the 4th highest decline in the country. It doesn't sound like much, but most of the country is growing, and researchers tell this could have a negative effect on our economy. The last consensus was done in 2024.
So if you're a state where typically deaths exceed births, so you don't have natural population growth, and you also don't have immigration, and you've historically relied on immigration, then it's going to affect you in adverse ways.
A Target 7 investigation looks into why New Mexico is losing people and the impacts it could have on our industries. Now watch it tonight on KOAT Action 7 News at 6 with Jason McNabb.
All right, let's get a live look outside from the Sandia Crest Cam. Looking gorgeous out there. Looking like a hot one today, though, Eric. Any chance for any rain in our future?
Yeah, not so much today, but in the future, the answer is yes. We may probably wait till next week before we see a good chance, though. Here's Ruidoso on a pretty calm 11 o'clock hour where we've got Sierra Blanca in the distance at 79 degrees. Ruidoso so famously wind whipped, and I just noticed this. I don't know when this happened, but this awning has tapped out from the wind, getting all battered there. Let's make a new one out of leather, and let's get it at Leathers. It's right next door. Solve that problem for you, huh? All right, well, maybe not. But anyway, we've got a couple of smoke-producing fires here into eastern Arizona. That's the Hummingbird fire there into Catron County. Is this going to be an afternoon where we're concerned about poor air quality and big smoke plumes coming off these fires? Don't really think so. There could be a little smoke and haze in the air in and around Catron County and northern Grant County. That is expected to stay north of Silver City. Let's look ahead towards tomorrow. Speaking of rain chances, tomorrow a lucky few may get downpoured on. Note there's just a couple of green spots showing up here through central, western, and northern New Mexico with continued warm temperatures. There is the slight chance of an isolated gusty thunder shower and maybe a downpour for some, but there's also going to be the potential for some dry lightning strikes, and this can lead to wildfire starts. That is a concern. That does include Albuquerque tomorrow, areas down to Silver City, all the way up towards Farmington, and then over towards Taos and Santa Fe. So that is accompanying our slight chance at rain as we look ahead towards Thursday. Maybe Thursday early in the morning, some leftover isolated thunder showers in northern New Mexico, and then this southeastern corner of the state could fill back in with a couple of isolated gusty storms. But once again, it could be that dry lightning, and it could be the potential for Virga, which is rain that evaporates and enhances those wind gusts. You can see over the next 2 days, the computer models are only throwing down the potential for 1/100th of an inch in a couple of spots. Whenever we talk about rain chances during our spring season, the air is typically pretty dry. So it's more Virga, evaporating rain, that blasts those wind gusts down on us. And yes, lightning strike with little to no rain can lead to a wildfire start. Now, looking further ahead, starting Sunday, second half of the weekend through Thursday, note the computer models are suggesting the potential for above average precipitation. A longer outlook that goes through next weekend has a stronger signal for above average precipitation. So this week, low rain chances. Next week, better rain chances. But we're really eyeing up the days towards next weekend before those higher rain chances do really kick in for us.
All right, thank you, Eric. Well, next on 7, a pair of retail stores installing new tech to help catch thieves. Why civil rights groups are concerned.
And changes coming to some ABQ ride routes, the possible changes impacting your commute.
And we're celebrating 100 years of the Mother Road, and we want your help. Send us your best pictures along Route 66 to our You Local New Mexico Facebook group. Remember, we can't accept any professional photos. Then watch Friday at 6 p.m. and Saturday mornings as we share those stories.
You're watching KOAT Action 7 News.
Controversy over new technology now installed outside stores like Home Depot and Lowe's. The retailers using license plate readers to help track thieves.
As ABC's Hannah Batal reports, civil rights leaders are concerned about how collected data is being used.
This morning, big box stores are taking controversial new steps to prevent crimes like this. A theft ring recently targeting Home Depots in 9 states.
This crew was amazingly coordinated, disciplined, meticulous, and dedicated.
Millions in merchandise stolen. Now, Home Depot and Lowe's are among the stores installing special cameras in their parking lots with automated license plate readers, hoping to boost safety. Some critics have raised privacy concerns as law enforcement embraces this technology.
They're literally tracking everybody that passes, whether you're in violation of a law or not.
The cameras, which capture license plate numbers, date, time, and location, are increasingly being used by police, but civil rights groups worry the technology could be used to target suspected undocumented workers or women seeking reproductive health care. Home Depot and Lowe's insist they do not share information with third parties. Lowe's saying it only discloses your personal information if required by law or legal process. Home Depot saying we do not grant access to our license plate readers to federal law enforcement. But experts say with tens of thousands of cameras now installed across the country, adding more license plate readers will help law enforcement build what could become a nationwide mass surveillance system.
They can literally trace almost exactly where I've been just by connecting all of the different data points based upon that license plate number. I can find out where somebody lives just based upon tracking their data. They can recreate my morning probably better than I can recreate my morning.
Hannah Batal, ABC News, New York.
Now later today on KOAT 7, GMA 3 at noon, followed by General Hospital at 1, Tamron Hall at 2, and the Jennifer Hudson Show at 3. Then join us for Action 7 News live at 4 with Darlene Melendez.
Coming up, a life taken too soon. A family in northern New Mexico grieving the loss of their son. The latest in our Outcry series, why his parents feel the killer got away with murder.
A new data center potentially coming to Socorro County, why the company says it will be good for the community, and the concerns we are hearing from residents.
And Albuquerque Public Schools bringing back its summer reading program. When and where you can sign your kids up.
You're watching KOAT Action 7 News.
A teenager's life taken from him on the first day of school. Now Jamian Revol's family is only left with the memories of him.
They took him away, and I don't know why or understand why, but I don't think I would ever heal from it.
Why the family says the charges brought against the teen killer isn't justice for the death of Jamian.
And an historic bridge set to reopen today, celebrating the return of the Oñate Bridge.
Well, temperatures running much warmer today. Let's check in with Eric now and find out if we'll see any record breakers out there this afternoon.
Yeah, warming past the comfort zone, Alyssa. Yesterday's high in Albuquerque, a very ideal and comfortable 83. We expect to beat that by about 10, and the number we're chasing is 93. These are records for many New Mexico communities next to the forecast highs, and for a lot of us, we're going to be within 1 or 2 of that record. In Santa Fe, I think it's already 77 degrees with that sun-filled sky. We only need 10 more degrees for a record. Well, the airport mid-hour may have already updated to 79. So that record is in jeopardy in southern New Mexico. A lot of spots already well into the 80s. And look at Deming at 90, Lordsburg at 87. A little bit too warm for the time of year compared to yesterday at the 11 o'clock hour. We are like 10 to even 20 degrees ahead of schedule. Winds right now pretty friendly. Santa Fe catching a wind to 12. Rest of us single-digit winds. And the winds do stay light through the rest of the afternoon. But here in Albuquerque, we're about to hit 85, and we're going to spend the bulk of the afternoon above 90 degrees, chasing down that record on the day for the date, which currently sits at 93. It's going to be a very close call.
90s in May. Thank you very much, Eric. Happening now, police investigating the death of a teenage girl in a parking garage in Albuquerque's Old Town. Authorities say it happened on March 29th near Mountain and 20th. Investigators say several people were there and may have information about what happened. If you know anything, please call 505-843-7867 to leave an anonymous tip.
Well, a teenage boy's life ending on the first day of school while the killer is serving time behind bars. A Dulce family feels justice still has not been served.
Our Shelley Rabondo shares Jamian Revol's story in the latest installment of our Outcry series.
Being a nuisance and always singing, he would just always sing that, "Hey Dad, our song, lover, 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 you don't treat us no good no more," I mean.
Jamian Revol's family remembering his zest for life. They called him Monkey.
He'd always say, "Don't bother Mom, let her be. I'll deal with you guys. Come on, I'll help you with your homework. I'll cook you something. I'll get you up."
Jamian's family remembering him as a joyful, happy, and silly teenage boy.
Basically, my partner crying. I miss playing games with him. Even, I always think that he's cheating most of the time. I get mad at him. I was like, "You're cheating." He's like, "Not even."
He had his whole life ahead of him and even won the biggest impact award at school.
And it wasn't just only family he cared about. He cared about everybody and anybody that surrounded him. He cared and he watched out for a lot of people.
At just 15, Jamian was taking classes to become a paramedic or EMT. But one day after his first day of school, those dreams came to a screeching halt.
He texted me and he asked me, he was like, "Dad, is it all right if I go up to Philip's house?" He said, "We're going to go play video games." So I told him, "Yeah, did you do your chores first?" And he said, "Yeah." He goes, "I just got done doing the dishes and stuff. Where we live at is not too far, probably about 1.5 miles away."
As Jamian was walking to his cousin's house, he was shot and killed by another teen in an attempted robbery.
I went up there and I just looked down the road and recognized his shoes, recognized him by his shoes,
The teen who killed Jamian was tried as a juvenile and sentenced to just 3 years. And for how that teen got the gun, Travis Begay Jr. is charged with providing it.
These boys get to walk free. They get to see another day. They get to enjoy whatever they love doing, watching TV, kicking back, whatever. They get a second chance at life, a second chance to breathe. But Jamian doesn't. Jamian does not get a second chance at all. He's laying in cold dirt,
Darlene Gomez is representing Jamian's family.
And so we are hoping that the U.S. Attorney's Office will go back and look at the evidence and charge Travis Begay Jr. either with conspiracy to commit robbery or conspiracy to commit murder. As of today, the only charge is giving a firearm to a juvenile. And to me, that's not justice.
But for now, the family's left to grapple with the loss of their son, their brother, their Monkey.
And then I guess because they took him away, and I don't know why or understand why, but I don't think I'll ever heal from it.
For Action 7 News,
An empty table, an empty chair at the table.
I'm Shelley Ribando.
Travis Begay's junior trial is expected to start in June. Darlene Gomez says she and the family are working to have a say in the case. If you have a story of a missing or murdered Indigenous person you'd like us to cover, please send an email to outcry@koat.com.
To Commitment 2026, the first week of early and absentee voting for our state's primary election is in the books. The Secretary of State's office is reporting 6,000 registered Democrats voted, along with 3,400 Republicans and nearly 900 others who declined to state. Now, early voting is open at County Clerk's office, and it will expand to other locations this Saturday. Now, Election Day is June 2nd. And we have everything you need to know about the election in our updated voter guide, including early voting locations, races across the state, and requesting an absentee ballot. Find it on our website or app.
U.S. Senate voted to advance the nomination of former New Mexico Congressman Steve Pierce to lead the Bureau of Land Management. Pierce would oversee 10% of all land in the U.S. as part of his job. A final vote has not been scheduled, but could happen as early as today.
New Mexico's Supreme Court siding with El Paso Electric in a legal battle over energy costs during a winter storm in 2021.
Yeah, this is all during that storm that caused the utility customers caused them to get energy they brought from a nuclear power plant in Arizona. Las Cruces argue they should have found a cheaper option, but the court says they acted to keep power flowing during a crisis. Customers will now have to pay for nearly $6 million in emergency power costs. And the largest green data center could soon come to Socorro County. We're told a facility would power the future of AI, running off solar energy and its own water supply.
We've looked at other projects in the state and out of the state that have contributed money to high schools, money to the community to improve the standard of living and really pay our fair share.
But not everyone is on board. Some residents concerned about the data center's consumption of local resources, including water.
You have to clean those closed loop systems, which are never actually closed loops. They have to dump all that back somewhere, and it's just going to go back in the aquifer. Now, what did they use to clean all those pipes with? I don't personally want to drink it.
Green Data Center says the planning is still in the early stages.
Now, part of New Mexico is getting a major boost to a long-planned water project. The Eastern New Mexico Water Utility Authority secured $77 million in federal funding to help complete a regional water system. The project will deliver renewable water from the Ut Reservoir to several communities, including Clovis, Portales, Texaco, and Alita. Now, leaders say the system is critical as an aquifer in the area continues to decline. And the federal government officially getting rid of a Biden-era rule requiring conservation to be considered alongside development on public land. Source New Mexico reports the Bureau of Land Management finalized the change this week, impacting millions of acres across the West, including more than 13 million acres right here in New Mexico. The rule had required the BLM to consider conservation alongside uses like mining, grazing, timber, and recreation when making land management decisions.
It happened today in Españolo, the historic Oñate Bridge, reopening after nearly a year of repairs. It was closed last June because of stability concerns ahead of the monsoon season. Crews started repairs in February. The cost, $2 million. A ribbon-cutting ceremony will be held today at 2 p.m. on the east side of the bridge. And a traffic alert for anyone visiting Conchas Lake in eastern New Mexico. The bridge and roadway on Bell Ranch Road will be closed today at 5 p.m. This is so crews can inspect a bridge at the dam. The closure prevents access to and from several campgrounds, so you won't be able to go to the visitor center during this time as well. ABQ Ride announcing a second phase of its plan to improve the city's transit system.
Now here's a look at the new map. Starting on Saturday, ABQ Ride will launch Route 52, which will serve downtown. Route 51 will be replaced by a new micro transit zone in the South Valley. That's a free rideshare service allowing you to book rides on demand. Now Route 53 and 155 will shift slightly to serve busier areas.
Within these zones are transit centers, healthcare sites, grocery stores, parks, libraries, community centers, senior centers, and more. So it really truly will be able to connect you to your livelihood.
This is the second of 16 phases returning to the Duke City to pre-pandemic levels of bus service. City officials expect the project to be completed by the end of 2029. Now, there are just a few weeks left in the school year. APS is bringing back its club reading program again this summer for kids in preschool to 5th grade.
Hard to believe it's that time again, but there are some cool prizes up for grabs. Here's how it works. A student will get a scorecard and must read 6 age-appropriate books. They turn that into any Dion's restaurant for a free slice of pizza. Who doesn't love that? And their next scorecard. If they read 6 more books, they get Isotopes prizes and an entry to win a grand prize, which includes being a very special guest to a Topes game.
If we don't have books in our students' hands, if we're not engaging in some of those pieces, there can become a stalling point. But with this program, it's going to keep them going. And with all of our elementaries on board, I'm very confident that we'll be able to take a look at the impact on that.
That program runs from now till July 27th. We will post information on our website and app.
Well, graduation season is here, and once again, KOAT is celebrating with our senior shout-outs. Just as to fit a picture of your grad to our U Local New Mexico Facebook group. We can't accept professional pictures, though. Now include their first name, school, and their plans after graduation. Then watch Action 7 News at 4, 5, and 6 to see their shout-out live on air.
Coming up, Lobo head coach Eric Olin getting his payday, how much the school is giving him to extend his contract.
And a potential breakthrough on a treatment for lupus. Dr. Ash explains how health officials may have a way to take out the autoimmune disease.
You're watching KOAT Action 7 News.
UNM making a big move in hopes of solidifying the future of the men's basketball program.
Yeah, this all comes in the heels of what many look as an unexpectedly successful season. Ruby Aurora has more.
The University of New Mexico officially locked in head men's basketball coach Eric Olin with a 5-year, $7.25 million deal. A massive reward for Olin, who turned a program with 0 returning players and staff into a 26-win powerhouse in a single season, the second most for any debut coach in Lobo history. The Lobos finished 3rd in the Mountain West under Olin before reaching the semifinals of the National Invitation Tournament. The $1.45 million a year puts Olin among the top earners in the Mountain West through the 2030 season. Vice President and Athletic Director Ryan Berryman released a statement reading in part, quote, Olin has worked tirelessly to enhance UNM's reputation as a basketball power in the West, and his success this past season is indicative of his leadership. We are excited about the future of Lobo basketball under Olin's leadership. That's it for your morning sports. I'm Ruby Aurora.
Thank you, Ruby. Happening today, the Albuquerque Isotopes are kicking off a new homestand, and it will include some special nights at the ballpark.
Yeah, there's going to be some new food on the menu. Then tomorrow they will celebrate Asian American Pacific Islander Night. Friday and Saturday we'll have fireworks after the game. Saturday is Green Chili Cheeseburger Night. And Sunday is Military and Veterans Appreciation Day. For more info, visit the team's website.
That sounds green chili cheeseburger sounds perfect
Delicious.
right now. Crucial game 5 of the NBA playoffs tonight. Eric's, your Minnesota Timberwolves face off against the San Antonio Spurs. The series knotted at 2 games apiece. The winner of this series will go on to play the Thunder in the Western Conference Finals. Tip-off in Texas, 6 p.m.
Now, still to come, the Supreme Court extending an order allowing abortion drugs to be sent in the mail. Why they haven't made a decision, next.
The iconic American fashion label, Ralph Lauren, donning a patriotic touch for America's 250th. That coming right up.